What is up, guys? Welcome back to Quick Take. So today I got a really special one for y'all. I was lucky enough to catch an early screening of Weapons, and boy oh boy, do I got some news for you. This will be a spoiler-free review up until a certain point, and I'll give you a heads up when I cross that line. But for now, let's talk about this movie. Starting off with no spoilers. Oh my god. This movie was amazing. Now, I know some people online have already been throwing around the title Horror Movie of the Decade for this one. And honestly, I gotta disagree with that. But don't get me wrong, that does not mean it's bad. What Weapons does so well is how it pulls you through this maze of different character perspectives. Every time the movie flips to a new character, your jaw just drops further and further. Not because it's confusing, but because the pieces start clicking together in a way that catches you completely off guard. There's even a moment that is totally unnecessary. You will know what I'm talking about if you watch this movie. But totally unnecessary. Basically happens in any horror movie is talked about in any other horror movie. If you know, you know.
I caught you. You was looking. I caught you.
Now, in terms of horror, this isn't some nightmare fuel scarefest. If you're a hardcore horror fan, you might not find it terrifying, but it is definitely a fantastic watch. And let me talk about the gore for a second. Because, yeah, it's minimal, but when it does hit, you're gonna flinch. It's super gory. It's realistic. I feel like a lot of the budget of the makeup went into that. Because, oh my god. There are like 3 moments there's gore, but it is cool. It's crazy. But overall, I think Weapons is a solid 8 out of 10. The plot hits hard. There's a crazy twist that'll have your brain doing flips. And even the stuff that doesn't make sense at first. Yeah, it'll come together. Well, most of it. The ending, well, let's talk about that in a second. So this is your warning now. Spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen Weapons yet, this is your chance to dip out. So let's get into it. So the movie opens with a ton of footage from the trailer in the first 5 minutes, which honestly had me thinking, wait, they showed all of this within the first beginning of the movie?
This is a true story that happened in my town. So this one Wednesday is like a normal day for the whole school. But today was different. Every other class had all their kids. But Mrs. Gandy's room was totally empty. And you know why? Because the night before, at 2:17 in the morning, every kid woke up, got out of bed, walked downstairs, and into the dark. And they never came back.
What the heck? They made it seem like this was all going to be scary. Like this whole thing. It was going to be surrounded around the kids. The movie wasn't even really surrounded about the kids. It was more so surrounded about a curse. There's moments where it was mainly around the kids. Yes, it all started with the kids, but it worked towards bigger than that. Those trailers, though, do not do this movie justice. Yes, the trailer made them seem scarier than it is, but they do not show what this movie actually is. It's very funny, comedic, and I feel like it's more comedic than scary, but in a good way. There's this nice layer of dark comedy woven through it. So, let's move on to the characters. We meet James, this addict who's been telling people he's got a job while literally robbing cars. He gets busted trying to sneak into a building, gets caught by cops, and then that's when we meet the cop Paul, who's already knee-deep in some marriage drama, which happens later in the movie, which we get to see when we get Paul's perspective. Paul's wife finds out he hooked up with Miss Gandy, thinking his wife is still out of town, but he comes back home the next day, and big surprise, she asks where he was. Since Paul is a cop, his cop mentality kicked in, and he couldn't lie. So he just stayed quiet, and she said, "You son of a bitch." The way that scene plays out had the entire theater laughing. Like, I'm talking collective gasp and full-blown laughter. But then the movie flips the tone real fast. James gets caught trying to steal again. Paul arrests him, and because Paul said, "If you come back here, I'm gonna arrest you," and we'll get into that in a second. But then James follows it up with saying how he knew where the kids were. That's why he was going to the police station, and that's where he actually walked out of the police station. And then Paul started chasing James. But Paul arrests him, James run, action kicks in. And then bam, Paul gets stabbed by a dirty needle while searching James. Yeah, a dirty needle. And then Paul just loses it. He knocks him out cold, walks it off like it's nothing, peace out, in the most unpeaceful way. But he made sure not to just leave him there. He noticed his dash cam was plugged in. He unplugged the dash cam, said, "Get up, I'll let you go." Basically, you did a bad thing, I did a bad thing. We both go on our way. If I see you again, you're getting arrested. And then he goes to Miss Gandy again. Like, bro, you're possibly infected, and that's the first thing you do? Now, here's the big twist. Turns out the kid Alex, the only student who stayed after class with Miss Gandy that night, his aunt, who no one has seen in 15 years, is behind some witchcraft stuff. Like full-blown, demonic, ritualistic, dark magic. Everything starts tying together, and boom. Alex turns the table towards the end. He gets all the other missing kids who have been locked in his basement, who his aunt put in his basement with the spell and curse of the witch stuff and things. He grabs the stick, stabs himself with the stick, breaks the stick and they all go for his aunt. That was a lot. The curse ends, supposedly, but the last thing we see is the fucking kids sitting there after they just ate the aunt open. These are third graders we're talking about, maybe fifth graders. And you're telling me this ripped her open, and after the spell or whatever broke, they were just sitting there looking at her insides with blood all over them and probably organs in them? What the fuck? But the last thing we hear from one of the voiceovers is that some of the kids started talking again, but the other ones, they haven't heard since. We don't know if traumatized, if some of them are brain dead. My theory was they're brain dead, if the ones who were supposed to be dead are just brain dead and can't do anything really, can't really talk. They're just kind of deep in their mind. But the question is it really over? So now we're going to get into Miss Gandy. Miss Gandy was interesting this whole movie. I feel like we got more into her at the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie, which was my favorite parts of the movie because it got more into the horror aspect of it, the scary aspect of it, which is the horror aspect of it, and the more mystery part of it, which I'm that kind of person that likes the mystery, that likes the horror, that likes the jump scares. I like all of that stuff. So for me to see that, I really loved it. It's a good movie. I feel like it was more comedy though, but that's not mean I didn't love it. I feel like if you're a big horror fan, you're gonna love this. It's really funny. There's a lot of comedy out of this movie. You're gonna love it. But Miss Gandy, she was right on the edge of everything. Like, of everything. She couldn't help it, so she went to the bar, obviously, and all that. And then, her and Paul did the dirty after he, of course, got stabbed by a dirty needle. So, I guess he went dirty for dirty. Weapons was a ride, not perfect, not the horror movie of the decade, but it's ambitious, weird, funny, and deeply original. If you're into movies that blend horror, mystery, and just enough WTF moments to keep you engaged, this one's for you. Let me know your thoughts down below, especially if you've seen it. I need to hear your theories. and what you guys are cooking up. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and this is Mini Nades from Quick Take, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out! Before I go, I just want to showcase some merch that we got from the early screening. This is not available anywhere else, so we got lucky with this early screening because we got this all for free. So as you can see, I got a Weapons t-shirt directed by Zach Kreger in theaters August 8th, which is currently August 5th as the time I'm recording this. Weapons with the little drawings. I got a poster the potato roll scene in the end. We walked out and they just had them laying there because it was towards the very end. If you walked out there, read that. Wait. It's basically a potato cutter they used to skin Paul, or Miss Gandy used to skin Paul because she didn't know what else to do. And there's a freaking chicken noodle soup recipe on the back. They're messed up. I hope you guys did go and enjoy this video. A like is always appreciated. Like, subscribe, and this is Mini Nades from Quick Take, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out!